Alright guys, Scrappy here and say, hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Massive games in the CDL this evening, but Scrappy has certainly been getting involved in some drama over the last couple of days, ever since the reveal of Black Ops 6. The Omni directional movement feature that Shotzzy and others seem to rather like has been causing some controversy. Scrappy reveals he believes the majority of pro players, potentially including himself, will agree to ban this and gentleman's agreement it from the game. What might other teams such as OpTic have to say about this? What could the league potentially do to step in to stop these players, potentially taking things way too far? Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. First of all, big thanks to Underdog Fantasy for supporting today's content. This is the day, if you are looking to get involved in daily fantasy sports, that it's probably a good time to do so, because some massive games in the CDL this evening, and of course in plenty of other sports and esports around the world. OpTic versus New York Subliners tonight is a massive series for those two teams' respective seasons, especially of course the OpTic guys. They need to bounce back. New York Subliners have not exactly been killing it themselves online over the last couple of weeks. With the NBA Finals going on as well, Game 5 coming up tomorrow evening, Underdog have actually raised pick 5 up to pick 8. You can pick up to 8 players if you want to max it out across all sorts of sports and esports. You can even get a couple wrong and still cash out. If you are looking to get involved and are in any of these eligible locations, use code RAB to claim your special pick and deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Play responsibly, of course, if you choose to. Let's dive straight on into the video. So firstly, Darian says, of course, girlfriend of Scrappy, in the occasional bit of drama, if you guys haven't noticed in the scene over the last couple of months, says that she's finally convinced Thomas, as in Ernie, as in Scrappy, to get a mullet. So, we've seen Envoy rock this successfully, I would say, over the last couple of months. And certainly that is one to be staying tuned for. I think this is Envoy's mother, is it? The reply is here saying, oh my god, here we go again. But speaking of Toronto, they played Thieves last night. A really important series in Thieves season, especially. And it seems to me, there's no doubt, that there has been some close-up between the top teams and the other teams. I think the teams that are fighting the champs have improved because they need to step it up, certainly online, and the top teams don't care as much about online as the others do. But still, I think the Thieves and others have been playing better. Whether it's a consequence of the 4-shot headshot, I don't really buy this idea, just because we actually had that earlier in the season, right? The MCW, right? The MCW's been buffed, so now it can kill in 4 shots again with a headshot mixed in. But it was like that at the start of the season when we were seeing 3-0 stompings every weekend. So I think there's clearly more to it. I don't just magically think the skill gap in the game has disappeared. I just think that some of the other teams have actually been improving and getting better over the course of the season. But usually, to be fair, what you see towards the end of a year, there are 1 or 2 teams that really separate themselves from the pack by just being better. Maybe that's going to be FaZe towards the end of the season. I guess time will tell. But Envoy had a really big game 1 here, and it's good to see for Envoy because obviously he caught some flack in the middle of the season, and I think understandably, because he knows himself he was underperforming. But we know what Envoy's capable of. He comes in there and absolutely fries last night. Game 1, they won. It was close though on the 6-star. The search and destroy, to be fair to Thieves, even though there was this 1 versus 1 between Scrappy and Nastie, Nastie decides not to check it, even though Scrappy's defusing, and yeah, maybe not the best player in the world. Anyway, Ultra go up 5-3, but Thieves, can you believe it? They actually bring it back. They win the next 3 rounds in a row. They ice up in the search and destroy to take it to a game 3, tied 1-1. But after that point, it was kind of, in some sense, classic Thieves, where they had their opportunities, but it just wasn't good enough, right? They lost the control in the end. This was a pretty crucial round. They could have won this one. It was actually a really close series, this, to be fair, looking back on it, because, Ultra needed to hold strong over the last 30 or so seconds here on their defense. They did exactly that. They win the game 3, and then the game 4 was a close affair until Scrappy decided to absolutely take over in the last rotation, went on a crazy spree. Actually, I think he was 15-1 or something to close out the game, and Thieves don't quite have enough at the end of the day. A big defeat though for Thieves in the grand scheme of things, because when they lost last week to Ravens in the way that they did, bottling that game 5 on the invasion, it definitely painted the picture of a challenging run now to the World Championship. Their last few games, Thieves, are tough. They play FaZe today. They've just played Toronto yesterday and lost. I will also say on Thieves, they are the only team, which is kind of incredible, isn't it? But the only team now yet to beat one of the top 4. Every time Thieves have played OpTic or Toronto or New York or FaZe, they've lost every single time. Every other team has now done that now. Now, I will say that OpTic have been giving out some of these wins. I mean, like Ravens. To be fair, Ravens did it anyway. They beat New York. But, teams like Vegas, they've now beaten OpTic. I don't think they've beaten any of the other. I guess they beat New York after that. So, whatever. You see what I'm saying there, right? Like, Thieves, for some reason, are the only team. Even Boston have done it, right? If you guys remember the crazy days at the start of the year when Boston 3-0'd Toronto. Toronto on, I think it was a 3-0, wasn't it? They smoked Toronto online. And that feels an awful long time ago. Of course, that was when Slash, it was on the team, and it was a rather different story to what we have talked about last night. The Thieves are the only team not to have done that now. They're 0-9 currently. They've only taken 7 maps against the top 4, so pretty bad record there. And you got to think, if you're an LA Thieves fan, that, you know, the season might in some sense be chalked. You might make it to champs, but if your record is that bad against the top 4, nothing is really going to be achieved when you actually get to the World Championship, if they do, and it's not a guarantee that they do. So a 3-1 loss here to Thieves, or to Toronto. The record as well was kind of interesting because, you know, Nastie, I think, has been turning it around, as have Kremp, and JoeDeceives had a really good control, but it wasn't enough. Ghosty, though, it's interesting, isn't it? Yes, his teammates have stepped up in some sense, but Ghosty, in the last couple of series, when the team has arguably really needed him, he's not been playing his best stuff. So having been by quite some way, I would say, their best player so far this season, Ghosty, couple of important series, Ghosty hasn't had his best performances when it kind of matters, and we know how important this online stuff is. Yes, the major will determine who goes to the World Championship in Dallas, like the major in Burbank coming up soon. Those points will be critical. But as we've said, getting past top 6 as a team like Thieves at the major is going to be a challenge, and there's only 30 points on the line for that. I will also mention what Envoy had to say on who's going to make the World Championship, because, of course, you know, he's just beaten the Los Angeles Thieves after saying this, and I feel like his prediction is probably what most people might say at the moment. Boston, of course, aren't making it. Gorillas are very unlikely to make it. Minnesota Rocker, I think, especially with no accuracy, and the fact that they lost in the way that I did the other day to the Subliners, and they're going to play Toronto tonight. We'll see how that one goes. I think I would definitely agree with Envoy on those 3. But then you've got the 4th spot, right? So Surge, I think, should be making it at 160. Miami now, I would say, are almost guaranteed at 160 themselves. So I think Miami and Surge are like basically locked in, I would say. They probably need one more win each to basically guarantee it. Thieves are at 145. Ravens, after their loss yesterday, 140. Legion are making a run. They're at 140, but their trajectory certainly is on the positive side. Minnesota 140, but they're probably on the negative, so it's an absolute mess. But to me, I don't think Minnesota, Gorillas, or Boston will make it at this point. I think that one of Legion, Ravens, and Thieves probably won't make it. And if I had to pick of those 3, maybe Ravens is the most likely. I would say that's probably true. But then again, Thieves are only 5 points down the road, and that's not a big margin, especially when they could easily lose every single series, Thieves, from now to the end of the split. They play basically all the good teams, I think, plus Vegas, from now to next weekend as well. But I wanted to share what Scrappy had to say here on some of the drama, right? Because we know that ever since Black Ops 6 was confirmed, the omnidirectional movement was causing some controversy, and there was talk as to whether the pros would try and get rid of it. In my mind, getting rid of omnidirectional movement, which is a setting in the game that allows you, if you guys haven't seen exactly what it allows you to do, but effectively when you move around the map, instead of moving in like the clunky way that you normally can, it opens the door to slide and dive and turn around mid-air, and it's effectively just another way to move in the game, which seems to be, as far as I'm concerned, a bit of a step forward, and I think actually looks really quite cool. Shotzzy loves this idea. Like, he's made that quite clear that, wow, I've been looking for a game that's going to have something like this. But we know how the pros are. They're looking at this saying, oh, it's cheese, it's got to go. Now, I would say, look, this is basically like getting rid of jetpacks, right? So, like, let's say Advanced Warfare comes out. Are the pros going to GA dashing or jumping around? You know, I don't really see that being a viable option. But the thing is, it's a setting that you can turn on and off, so the pros, if they want to, can decide not to use it, although somebody might step in.
Yeah, I don't want you guys to get your hopes about this Omni, bro. That's probably getting GA'd, bro. Let's be real. It depends. It depends how broken it is. It's either going to get GA'd one, or it's just going to be, like, not that good to where pros just won't use it. Why do y'all GA good shit? What do you mean, why do we GA good shit? Like, what's good shit? I promise you, most of the GAs that we do is to make the betterment of the game more competitive, because the game is not competitive. Sniper, bro, we GA'd the sniper because it would make the game horrible. It would literally make S&D like it was just horrible. There's no sniper that like you could quick scope with. All the like, it's just stupid. Because like, bro, if the sniper was good, there was a sniper last year. We didn't GA the sniper last year. I don't know why y'all GA'd ATS or single tap stuff. Hands up, bro. Because bro, not everyone should like that. Will literally give everyone. It's just a skill gap, bro.
Okay.
creates zero skill gap. Like, I promise you, zero. To be able to do it without it is like tippable, you know what I mean? When you have ATS, bro, like that shit means nothing. But I promise you the game would be horrible if we didn't GA shit. The game would be literally terrible to watch, terrible to play, or terrible to watch. It would be cringe, bro. It would be so cringe. Oh, you're talking about the BP50. Guess what? We tried that shit. It was ripping cross map. Ups close, ripping subs. There was 8 of them on the map. You guys talk about you want a 3-gun meta. Brother, that's a 1-gun meta, bro. That's a 1-gun meta. What the f are we talking about? Smoke GA is crazy. No, it's not, bro. They f***ing... Bro, again, like, bro, you can literally smoke at your feet in literally one way. So you see everything on the map in front of you. They can't see you at all. How should that not be GA'd? How is that fun? How is that any skill? Y'all do be listening to Haggy way too much, bro. Haggy wanted us to use all these new guns, bro, that were ripping. The Holger, bro. It was a 3-bullet gun. The Holger was 3 bullets. 3! So, like, bro, I hear you. GA's kind of, like, blow. I get it, bro. But, like, it has to be done. It has to be done for the sake of the game.
So Scrappy's predicting that it's probably going to get GA'd, but I'm sure that certain teams such as OpTic are not going to be happy about that potential idea. Now this tweet was, in hindsight, actually sarcastic from Gravity. He pointed that out afterwards, but still worth talking about when he tweeted out, yeah, so we're going to disable the omnidirectional cheese, right? Now, Spinner Spence from the league at the time said no. So this is what I wonder, is whether the league will actually step in here. The issue is, can the league do that much to stop the pros? If the pro teams decide between them, that's what the plan is going to be. You've got to realise as well, though, the game isn't even out yet. The players haven't even played the game. So for them to be commenting on that omnidirectional movement is cheese and all these things, they don't know. They're just making an assumption that, well, it's a new thing and it's maybe not going to be good for our team because OpTic are going to like it or whatever. Certain players are going to like it. The more skilled players might be able to use it to their advantage more than others. So, you know, we're going to ban it, right? We're going to get rid of it. But I'm sure that some teams are going to disagree. And the league potentially are going to tell the pros that no, you know, it is going to be used. But then again, this is the case with other things like the sniper rifles back in, let's say, Cold War. They weren't banned in the rule set, I think, officially. At least not at the start of the season, and this is the case for, like, many GAs you can talk about, but the pros still, between them, decided not to use it. So, technically, the league could say, alright, we are absolutely not turning off the omnidirectional movement mechanics, but then the pros could, I guess, turn it off themselves, unless the CDL mandated that the omnidirectional movement mechanics, like, that is a rule that it's got to be on. If they put it in the rulebook, that omnidirectional movement will be on, then there isn't really much the pros can do about it, because it's not something that you can play with and choose not to use. If you have it selected, then when you move left and right, you will be using omnidirectional movement. That is how it works. So the CDL technically could step in here and say, you know what, this is actually part of the CDL rule set, this must be enabled. And then I don't think there's anything the pros could really do about not using it, because what we really want to be the case, certainly where we are now with the CDL, going back to a non-franchise era or whatever, there's a potential for big growth here over the coming years that we have squandered, I would say, over the last 5 of the CDL. One of the big parts of that is to ensure that whatever the pros play is as similar as possible to what the casual players play. And omnidirectional will be played by everyone who plays pubs. So if they start to watch the pro scene and see why aren't they moving like I move, then it creates a serious problem. So I think the league can and probably will step in here to prevent this. At least they should. Spinner Spence implies they should. But I guess we'll see what the pros think when the game actually arrives. These are then the 4 games of today. Big games as well. Minnesota, Toronto. If Minnesota lose this one, I would say it's probably is chalked, just because it's, you know, losers bracket start is looking quite likely at that point. Yes, they've won some maps. They did well against New York the other day. Minnesota could win this, but I definitely think it's more likely that they don't. Thieves are probably going to have a tough time against FaZe. We know their record against the top 4 is bad. Vegas Gorillas should be a Vegas favored series, although Gorillas did look really good against Boston yesterday, but that was Boston. The big one, of course, is OpTic versus New York, right? This series is going to be really influential for how OpTic look from now to the end of the stage, because they're currently 1-3 OpTic. They really need to get to 2-3, because otherwise they're going to have to beat Boston, who, you know, I mean, okay, and then they play Toronto after that next weekend. So, you know, if OpTic lose today, they're 1-4 this stage. Like, that is a very compelling argument that a losers bracket start is going to be on the cards just after winning the most recent major. And it's not like New York is sitting comfortable 5-0 and they don't mind if they lose this series. You know, New York would quite like to win this as well. And honestly, if it goes game 5, do I favour New York, Search and Destroy, or OpTics? probably New York's right now. So I can see this going either way, but if I had to call it, I might say New York in 5, just based on what I've seen over the last couple of weeks. But, you know, maybe OpTic are going to turn up here, because in the last couple of series they played, they've not delivered the performance they would have been looking to, and maybe they need a top 4 team opponent to really snap out of, you know, snap back to reality, as it were, in terms of what they need to deliver. But very much interested in your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.